Every August they come. Actors, musicians and comics to the world's biggest performing arts gathering, the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Almost 20,000 performers from 46 countries are drawn to the stages and streets of Scotland's capital city, and in the 3 weeks of the festival, the population doubles. The Fringe is exciting, vibrant, even dangerous. There are no artistic boundaries. Just pay your fees, book a space, and hope an audience turns up. And if they do, that's called cutting it at the Fringe. The Fringe began in 1947, when 8 theatre companies gate-crashed the official Edinburgh Arts Festival. Until the 1970s, the Fringe was a curiosity. But as it became more organised and publicised, it outgrew the main festival, and today sells nearly 2 million tickets. It has helped propel many acts to stardom. The Pythons, Dudley Moore, Stephen Fry, Emma Thompson, Rowan Atkinson, Clive James, Los Trios Ringbarkers, and of course, the Bouncing Czechs. Thank you, Derek. Our first Edinburgh Festival was in 1982. We arrived in 2 little cars full of guitars, frocks and suits. And at first the audience just trickled in. But by the last week, we were selling out. The Bouncing Czechs went on to perform at 6 Edinburgh festivals. So why is the Fringe seen as the Holy Grail? What is Edinburgh's attraction for first-time performers? Sam Wills used his life savings to travel to the Fringe from New Zealand. And judging by the crowd he's gathered, his £50 street performer's fee seems a good investment.
Edinburgh is the place to bring a show. It's like street performers around the world, they talk about 2 places. There's Covent Garden, which is like the home of street performing, and go to the Edinburgh Festival. I think with street performing, it's so interactive. Anything can happen. Somebody could walk through, there's something else could go wrong.
Take the position, John! Take the position! Don't bloody hell!
I think audiences want it to go wrong. So I've sort of put part of the show where it goes wrong every time.
Just pass them to me! I don't trust you anymore!
It's chaotic enough that it works. And they like it.
Grab the other one, John! Grab the other one!
With street performing here, we all turn up first thing in the morning and we all put our names in a hat, and you draw your name out of a hat. And depending on where you come, you choose your time slots.
If you throw this badly, 2 more are coming back.
Coming from New Zealand, it's terrifying because we don't have any of that.
Okay, I'm stuck. Thanks very much for coming along, ladies and gentlemen. You can now go about your lives.
It can be a wee bit intimidating. Definitely feel a wee bit out of my depth, but at the same time, I know that it's a really good support network of other performers who are very welcoming of other people. Edinburgh Festival is just something it's always been there, and you go and you do your show on the Royal Mile.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the grand finale? Say yeah!
Yeah! It's a show everyone wants to catch. Plague the Musical, sir. Not to be missed. I like comedy about the Black Death. I wrote it with a friend of mine from university, Matt Townend. We met about 6 years ago and had a conversation around the piano about crazy musical ideas. And, oh, Plague the Musical, madam, come along. And Plague the Musical was born. And here we are at the Edinburgh Fringe 6 years later.
It's my first time here performing at the Fringe. I actually live down in London, so I don't get up this way that often, but it's quite exciting.
I am a local girl, but this is my first time performing in the Fringe. I trained in London, and so now that I've graduated, I've come up to do the show, Plague.
The rats, they took their revenge when the boxes were opened.
Edinburgh is such a buzz. If you've never come here, you won't quite understand how many shows. There are literally thousands and thousands of shows, and so you meet performers every day, before the show, after the show, in the bar.
It's symbolic, it's shambolic. Super killer, it's contagious.
To be up in Edinburgh with not knowing what the weather's like from one day to the next, and flyering on the mile and doing just the quick get-ins and get-outs from the theatre. It's just really, really exciting.
We hope that it will go away.
People in the cast, and there's a lot of costumes, a whole variety, lots of work to be done every day, keeping them, maintaining them, cleaning them. It's been such a challenge actually, kind of keeping it coordinated and keeping track of them all.
Wonder, wonder, wonder if that day will.
We spend most of our time out on the street during the day trying to flyer and do little publicity stunts to try and get people through. And word of mouth is now beginning to spread, and we're managing to see massive increases in audiences, and everyone's having a really good time.
Amazing, so it'll be sad to end.
For any show anywhere in the world, producers and casts dream of a full house. In Edinburgh, the challenge of selling tickets is taken to a new level. This is the Edinburgh Fringe programme. 300 pages of shows. At some times of the day you have a choice of 200 performances. Some shows can employ publicists to work the press to make sure those all-important reviews appear in the daily papers.
I've got a great team behind me, so there was sort of a lot of meet and greets, and that's half of it anyway. You know, learning people's names, what they're doing, a lot of social kind of interactions, and you meet the best people here, and it leads you to the best places in the world. Bringing good shows to the Edinburgh Fringe is the best start you can possibly have, and then it's just knowing what you're selling and just trying to get bums on seats really, which is why, you know, this is where it really happens, the box office.
For everyone else, when you're not performing, it's onto the streets in the great Edinburgh tradition of flyering, handing out cards to sell your show. But even with all the passion, commitment and spruiking, you're never guaranteed an audience.
It's Chris Lightning Drag Show, direct from Australia.
Stand-up comedy for £3.
With dragons and princesses.
Here's the info for the show. You come shake the booty tonight?
Come here full of hope. Edinburgh is where I'm going to be discovered. But I soon discover that the average audience of an Edinburgh show is 6. And not only can I not fill my show no matter how hard I try because no one has heard of me, I also go home deeply impoverished. Please come with only one expectation, that you shall do your best to entertain the public. Whoever else in the chain makes a profit and doesn't make a profit, it is the performers who make the losses that finance the biggest arts festival in the world.
For example, Karen Knotts, a librarian from California, is trying to cut it with a one-woman show based on the life of her father, Hollywood star Don Knotts. One of her shows had an audience of 3, and 2 of those were complimentary.
He was an actor and a comedian and very well known, and also a very beloved figure in America. And so this is my daughterly tribute to him and my exploration of my life with him. Now, all my life, I've had this weird feeling that people seem to know more about me than I know about them. Then one day it struck me, duh, it's because your father's famous, you numbskull. One reason that I did want to come to the festival was to do my show for people who didn't know my father. I'd say, Daddy, why don't you go down to the swimming pool and see if you can make some new friends? There must be lots of other divorced celebrities here.
Hey, it's me, Sparkles. I got 4 parties for you this weekend, and Twinkles, my #1 clown, can't work.
I also had a technical problem, but you know, the thing is that this is a training ground in a way. You know, you come here, you never know who you're going to get, and you just have to give the best performance you can, and every time you perform the show, it improves the show. Yeah, it's true. I've been tied up in knots most of my life, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. I saw 2 guys from New York last night, and they were, normally they pack houses in New York, and here they had about 10 people in the house last night. Because it's the same thing, you know, they're not known here. So everybody, this is a great leveling ground. Everybody, no matter where you come from, you just have to expect that you can't fill the room every day. It's tough, you know, but we're all in it together, so there's that sense of community. People would often ask about my father, but rarely about me. It's a fantastic experience, even though there are disappointments as well as some real exciting things.
My name is Felicity
was fantastic for once. There was no rain. We didn't have to get our umbrellas out, so that's a bonus for us being street performers.
I think the great thing about opera is that it can go to absolutely everyone. And we try to make our costumes very accessible. We try to make them very, very interesting to look at, so that even though we're doing something that some people wouldn't be totally into, it still allows us to sort of grab their attention.
I love doing street performing. It's something that's grown the last 4 years up here. And it's just such a career where it's based on who you know and luck and, you know, pushing yourself.
And how do the sisters cope with the competition for an audience on the Royal Mile?
It's just something that if you come to Edinburgh you have to deal with, and whether you choose to sort of sing louder or speak louder or wear a costume that people don't want to look away from, it all works well.
Inside at the Assembly Theatre, there's only 10 minutes between the end of one show and the start of the next, and that includes time to seat the audience. I remember it's just complete and utter chaos. The Gavin sisters and Dave Florey have performed their own shows at the Edinburgh Fringe before, but this year they've come together in the art of dating and dumping. Despite their success on UK television, the trio enjoy the challenge of playing to a live audience.
It's actually gone easier than I thought. I thought it would be quite difficult and all the rest of it, but as long as you're going out there and you're flying and everything's sort of done for you. I mean, you can produce your own show, and as long as you're meeting emails in time, you know, everything's sort of laid out for you on a plate, so it's pretty good. When you're at a big venue, when you're at a small venue, it's really tough.
Don't make me spell this out.
No, so I have no idea. What you're.
It's over.
What's over?
The ones I have here range from the classic
You're done, please.
to this.
Got cancer, got
He's got two lovely ladies as well, just hanging off him.
Exactly.
Yeah, all the
so
time.
it's a tough life. It's a tough life.
Yeah.
You know what was I gonna say?
Yes, I have got a boyfriend.
Boy, you're drinking good faith. It's mine now. £4.50 that cost, but I'm going to say it, right? This is the truth, yeah? You're a whore, and I hope your boyfriend realises this. You discussed
From Gainesville, Georgia, USA, the chicken capital of the world, a coachload of enthusiastic high school performers comes to town.
There are 36 students and 9 adults. For many of them, it's the first time that they've ever traveled.
My first trip ever out of the country.
I've been to Canada, but I guess that doesn't really count, does it?
Very exciting! We're so happy to be here.
It's definitely different.
First time overseas, first time being in the international world, whatnot. Now I'm getting to perform for international people, which is a very different feel than performing for our own peers back home in America.
And that makes me a little bit more nervous, not knowing who's out there.
I've always been told that being nervous is a good thing because it gives you the energy to go on stage and do what you're supposed to.
Well, let me tell you, I'm a hyperactive 67-year-old, and I guess they just role model after this energy.
I love being on stage. I love performing and just getting to smile and make people happy in the audience.
I tell them just like you're baiting a hook and you're going fishing and you cast out that bait and hopefully someone's going to catch it and then you're just going to reel them in. This is what we try to do the whole time.
Boy meets girl. Boy loses girl. Boy what?
I'm so sweaty, but it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it was great.
It's so amazing to finally be here and get to do it and have an audience to interact, and they seem to really like it, so we're all so happy.
It exceeded our expectations.
It was amazing. I had so much fun. I love doing this.
I do think it has been a life-changing experience for many of them. A lot of this group, they're not in the same clique. I've got baseball players, I've got wrestlers, football players, cheerleaders, people in the band, but they've all come together to bond as a family and as a unit with one purpose, and that is to make themselves proud and to make Gainesville proud.
Amongst the slapstick and comedy of the Fringe, there is serious theatre to be found. I remember because the Bouncing Checks often performed next door to serious theatre groups. They hated us. For the Scooter Theatre Group from Prague, the hustle and bustle of Edinburgh is a real culture shock.
For me, the theatre is not just the show. I buy a ticket and I forget it. You know, for me it is like to go to the church, to stop the time for a moment.
A door. An old door.
Like a photography, you know, you shut the moment and you can see in the moment so many little stories. And I see the theater like this. For me, the Edinburgh was a shock in the first days. You know, I see it so aggressive, so hard selling. I didn't like this.
When I came, I was a little bit surprised as well. In a few seconds, you have to tell them like our performance is really very good. You have to see it because it's the best performance. So this was strange for me. In the hour when we play, there are like 114 another performances. So I was really surprised that we have audience.
It is not the thing of the director to describe what is the right meaning of these things. Each audience should have each own translation.
With so many performances competing for a limited number of venues, it's not unusual to find shows starting before noon, like the world premiere of Susie Miller's Reasonable Doubt.
This is a theatre heaven, like there's theatre in every corner you turn. We have a very specific challenge, which is performing at 10:45 in the morning.
It's difficulty for an actor to get into the role, and we have many twists and turns in the play at 10:45, and we come down at midday, which is unheard of. It's quite a challenge in itself. I thought, I don't know how we're going to do this because it's very complex and whatever, and here we are.
And I called you first. You were the first one I called, and you said yes. So.
Everyone said to me, oh, Edinburgh is a monster, just go and devour it, it's huge, you'll be overwhelmed, you'll be amazed. As soon as you get off the train, you will be. And it's even more than that.
Well, Edinburgh is the biggest arts extravaganza in the world. I'm lucky enough, I hold a privileged position. I've been doing this for 15 years and I have a kind of a built-in audience. But even then, you absolutely need to deliver the goods in a very short space of time.
Of course, I'm helped by having Guy Masterson, who is Mr. Edinburgh, as producer and director, and Peter Phelps, who everyone in Australia knows is a terrific actor, and Emma Jackson, who's one of those absolute it girls in Australia, the sort of rising star. So we sort of had the perfect combination to sort of take it here.
It's fabulous to be here. It's just such an amazing festival, and I've been blown away by everything that's going on out there. It's crazy.
Every corner you turn, there's some fabulous entertainment. It really is, for me personally, a very enlightening experience, inspirational, because it really reminds me of why I wanted to be an actor.
For so many people to come together in the world and celebrate theatre on this level is just extraordinary.
In spite of everything, that still just wants you, only you.
Being a part of it, you feel like a speck, but it's a very nice little speck that we've got, you know.
There were problems having a name like the Bouncing Czechs. We used to get people coming along expecting Czechoslovakian acrobats. But it was a hook, it got people in. We got noticed through the name. Pig Island, very good name. What is a Pig Island? Well, Pig Island is an offbeat show from Australia, and the cast is learning very quickly that to survive in Edinburgh, you need to adapt very quickly.
What the hell are you doing? I have no idea. Follow my lead.
seemed like a pretty intimidating place to bring a show, but also like a pretty exciting prospect. I've been preparing the other two guys in Pig Island for a very difficult month, and yeah, we're really amazed that it's been pretty fun.
Rack off, Julia, don't mention it, Julie.
I was excited, definitely, because I'd heard so much about it, but I was also nervous because I'd heard how hard it was going to be and how it's so difficult to get audiences, especially if you're an unknown like we are.
We are having a problemo backstage, and I'm going to have to pause the show momentarily.
We're doing every single night of the Fringe because we had this friend who we were asking him, do people do every night, or do people take a night off? And he said, oh, well, some people take a night off, but often people, most people just go all the way through because there's so many shows. And so we signed up to do every single night, 28 nights back to back. We get here and find out that hardly anyone does that. Most people are taking a night off.
This is the smallest stage we've ever done the show on, and we get pretty hot, but we've done shows in Adelaide in 40-degree heat before, so we're pretty used to extreme circumstances.
Who killed you?
I did. You! We didn't know what Edinburgh was like, so it's probably good to play yourself a little bit, to be in a smaller room than what you think you could fill, because then it's always going to feel like a bonus when it's full.
So how'd you do it, Dad? How'd you defeat Winter? Let's just say I left her a little bit tied up.
You tied her up?
I killed her.
And so it was just sort of a big, exciting, scary adventure we decided to take ourselves on, and we've been really surprised and happy with how it's gone.
It was always just a crazy dream, but now that we're here, it's just turning out to be really fun with really receptive audiences, and a hard month, but a great experience.
It seems like the Fringe never stops. With a showtime of 11:30 p.m, these Irish first-timers are working hard to entertain their night owl audience.
It's a great standard, it's inspiring just to be. It's good to write material and to turn over stuff, and it's easy. It's an easy environment to do it when you're in Edinburgh because you're surrounded by it. You're surrounded by madness. I'm doing a compilation show with 3 other comedians here in the Mishmash. It's 11:30 each night, and it's great. The nature Mishmash, it's at times it's an energy and all that, but we have a structure to it. At last, it was quite random at times, so it's great. It's a great experience.
Hello, Australia in the middle. Where's Australia? Australia, very quiet all of a sudden. Australia, it's amazing when free still don't involve.
Do you know what the great thing about Edinburgh is? You see the best comedy, and at the exact same time you see the worst. And I think as a comedian you can exhaust yourself in looking at fantastic talent and all that, but I think you learn an awful lot more out of watching someone who's crap.
At the old Scottish Assembly building, the queue is forming for Circus Oz, and it's going to be a sold-out show. Circus Oz has performed at the Fringe 5 times before, but for 2 of the cast, Edinburgh is very new territory.
First of all, we're bringing out Australian culture, and which is what you see is what you get. And being active in outdoor. Flip grew up in children's circus in Fruit Fly Circus in Albury, and I grew up in children's circus in Ethiopia. So it's something that we did since we were little, 6 years old.
It's great being here amongst the world industry rather than just the Australian industry. Doing teeterboard in between lights is a little bit scary, but it's okay. Being in this venue, the skating act's the hardest because I can't get the run up I need to do the trick properly at the end. Sometimes it's a little bit hard for the audience because they really do think I can't skate. Or sometimes I just know it's a delusion.
My biggest acting show is the juggling balls. You know, like with juggling, that's not something that you can predict before, because as if that you're working with 7 people and you don't know what they're thinking. But you know, like the 7 balls, it's like they are like individual personalities. You know, sometimes they don't work with you. I feel, you know, sometimes I just go out and I train really hard before it, and then I go there and it's like you know, they just bash and they just fly out, and it's like, oh my God, you know. I run around, I dance, but also to bring my heart down and focus to juggle. So that's the hardest challenge for me.
Big opportunities open up for everyone and every company in this festival, and it's just so many companies and also performances. You know, it's like unbelievable.
Not only circus, but physical theatre. It could be burlesque. It could be, you know, you see all these shows and you just go, oh my God, I can do that. It inspires you to do something else as well.
Yeah.
Seeing the street performers doing their gags, you know, and you know, all the way you come home and you just see performance here and there, and it's great.
Beyond the applause, the Edinburgh Fringe is about artistic collaboration, the chance to be discovered, to see how you compare to the best, to add as seen at the Edinburgh Fringe, or better still, sold out at the Fringe to your next billboard, or just to be part of the biggest event of its kind in the world. Whatever happens to this year's first-timers, one thing is certain. Next festival, another group will arrive, stars in their eyes, wondering if they'll be cutting it at the Fringe.